welcome to Simple French Cooking. My name is Francois, and today I'm so excited to teach you how to make one of my favorite soups in the entire world. It's called Soupe au Pistou, or more simply, it's just called Pistou. It's a Provencal vegetable, bean, and pasta soup. A good pistou is made with whatever you have on hand, which makes it the perfect quarantine soup. So today for my version, I'm going to be making it with an onion. I have 3 zucchinis, I have 5 carrots. By the way, I prefer smaller carrots. A little bit more slender carrots. I find that they tend to be a little bit sweeter. I'm going to be putting in celery. I have green beans. I have these beautiful little yellow fingerling potatoes, tomatoes, tons of basil, garlic, olive oil, and then we come up to the subject of beans. Now, most pistous you see are going to have some form of white bean. I also like to make them with cranberry beans, especially when they're fresh and in season. I also use chickpeas, and I think chickpeas are fabulous in a great pistou. So there's one other consideration. What pot are you going to make it in? Most of the time I like to do it in my trusty Dutch oven. I mean, these things are the workhorses of any kitchen. But I got this beautiful traditional pistou pot that comes from Provence. It's just gorgeous. Look at the craftsmanship. It's just incredible, and look at that handle. Oh, it's just this thing makes me so excited. Now you have to be a little bit more careful when you're using pottery to cook with, but we'll talk about that at another time. This came from my friends at a company called rememberprovence.com. I'll post a link in the description so you can go to their site and buy all kinds of great stuff from them.
You know, before we get too far, I completely forgot. I have some beautiful fennel that overwintered in my garden, and I think it's time to cut it down and add it to our pistou. And fennel's gonna add this just delicious kind of licoricey flavor. So let's cut up our fennel and bring it in the kitchen and add it. Wow, look at that, guys. That is awesome. Totally cool.
Look at that incredible fennel I just cut out of my garden. It's so beautiful. Fennel grows great up here in the Pacific Northwest, and I love the flavor. And it just adds that kind of licoricey, anisey flavor to everything. We need to put in about a 1/4 cup of olive oil into your pan. And then the first thing I want to add is my chopped garlic. I like to put a lot of chopped garlic. Use as much as you want. But I add at least 4 or 5 cloves. You can add more, you can add less, you can add none. It's all up to you. Now we're going to add our chopped onion, our carrots, and our celery. If you have leeks, I usually use leeks as well. I didn't have any leeks today, so I didn't add any. And already my kitchen smells heavenly. Just give that a good stir. And then I'm also going to add a couple bay leaves. You could add a pinch of herbes de Provence if you like, a little grate of pepper. Oh my God, that smells so incredible. Cook this for probably about 10 minutes. We can cover it, just have it on medium heat, and it'll be perfect. I generally never measure the water. I'll start out with like about 2 quarts. What I'm really looking to do is just to cover the vegetables by an inch or 2 of water. Really, you know, I know everybody, especially when you're a beginner cook, you worry so much about getting the quantities right. But what I want to teach you is that it's really not that precise of a science. Cooking is a lot more about feel and touch, and really, whatever path you take, it's going to end up perfect. I really promise. Trust me on that. What we're going to do now is let the soup simmer for about 20 minutes. I like to cover it. I do it over medium heat. What we're looking for is just the vegetables to be a little bit soft, but not mush. We still want to have a little bit of texture to it. You know how sometimes when you're making pesto and you make it and then it just turns black right away? If you stay to the end of the video, I'm going to show you a secret I learned from an Italian chef that's going to help keep your pesto green every single time. So while the soup is simmering, I just want to cut up the rest of my vegetables. We're going to use a big handful of green beans and just really rough cut them. I mean, you're about cutting them in half. But, you know, don't worry. It's a rustic soup meant to be rustic. All right, look at that. See, that to me is the perfect length, and it's totally fine that they're all different sizes. Our potatoes, we're just gonna cut those in quarters, and I'm using about 8 potatoes. Look at that soup, that looks incredible. So now I want to add our green beans, our potatoes, our chickpeas, or if you're using white beans, you could use white beans, and then our tomatoes. So let's just add these guys in. And as you see, the soup is just so full of veggies. Super healthy soup. All right, so now we've added our potatoes and green beans. I'm going to add 1 can of chickpeas, and I'm adding the juice and everything in there. And then here's your first choice. If you like a really tomatoey soup, add an entire can of, I use San Marzano style tomatoes. If you like it less tomatoey, add less. If you have a bunch of fresh tomatoes in your garden, just rough cut them and throw them right in. Just look at that soup. It's so colorful. Look at all of that. It's beautiful. Probably take about another 20 minutes, whatever, you know, just until all the vegetables are tender and the broth tastes great. And before you serve it, make sure you give a good taste to it. Making pistou is a lot like making pesto. So what we're going to do is start out with a clove of garlic. Just add that to your food processor. I'm going to add about 1 cup or so of grated Parmesan. Please do not use that crappy stuff in the green can. That's not Parmesan. And we're going to add maybe half a cup of olive oil. All right, and here's my secret for keeping your pistou bright green, and it also gives it a really beautiful creamy texture. It's a piece of cooked potato. Strange, I learned this from an Italian guy. This little piece of potato that I fished out of my pistou soup is going to keep the basil bright green. It acts as an antioxidant. So we're just going to throw it right in there in the food processor, and then let's just puree this up. So what I like to do is I like to get it all into a nice like creamy consistency right here. You know, I've never done this, but I'm going to add a bunch of these fennel fronds from my garden, throw them right in there. Let me just process those. Oh, that's gonna be awesome. And then I'm gonna add about 3 ounces of basil leaves. Don't worry if you get a couple stems in there, just throw those right in. All right, look at that. Let's just give that a taste. Just beautiful. It's like the flavors of summer right there in your mouth. After you make your basil garnish for your Pistou soup, make sure to save a couple tablespoons to stir right into your soup. It just really gives the whole soup such amazing flavor. Just stir it right in, and you know, just look how beautiful this soup is. It's really a gorgeous soup. And just look at all the beautiful healthy vegetables. Now, like all soups, I really recommend making the soup one day, letting it sit for a day or two, and just let the flavors kind of marry and intensify. You can eat it right away, but it's always much better with a day or two of sitting. Anyway, this is the way my family serves it. So you would put the whole pot on your table. You have the Pistou basil garnish. You have some grated Gruyere or Parmesan cheese and some cooked pasta. I'm using chickpea pasta. Quite frankly, I think the chickpea pasta tastes better in this application than a wheat-based pasta, but your preference. So let's give this soup a taste. Oh, look at that. That is incredible. And what I like about serving it this way is each of your guests or your family members can customize it. So if you have a fussy kid that doesn't like something or wants more of something, they can add it themselves. I suggest serving all of these condiments on the side and just passing them around. Food is meant to be gregarious, and it's all about sharing and love, even in the time of COVID-19. So I'm gonna add a little bit of pasta here. You know, and once again, just add as much as you like. I'm gonna add some cheese. And then I'm gonna put a big spoonful on top. Let's give that a taste. That's incredible. Every time I eat this, really, it takes me back to Provence. I think back to my childhood with my mom cooking it, or going to great restaurants like Bistro de Pesto that just serve this, and it's the flavors of south of France in your mouth. I can never get enough Pistou.